Spend enough time in the presence of a true Sigma male, and something strange happens, something you can't quite put your finger on at first. The room doesn't go silent, but the energy shifts. People notice him, even if he doesn't say a word. He doesn't walk in trying to impress anyone, yet somehow, all attention drifts his way. Not because he's loud or flamboyant, far from it. It's the aura he carries. Calm, grounded, unmoved. There's a sense that he knows something no one else does, like he's playing a different game, one with deeper stakes and higher rewards. Half the room is drawn to him, curious, maybe even inspired. The other half? Uneasy, maybe even irritated. They can't explain it, but they feel challenged, exposed. Not by what he says, but by what his presence implies. He doesn't seek approval, doesn't chase attention, doesn't bend to social pressure, and that unsettles people who are built entirely on those things. See, a Sigma male doesn't live by the rules of modern social dynamics. He doesn't climb the hierarchy. He steps outside it. He isn't trying to dominate like an alpha or follow like a beta. He's rewriting the blueprint altogether. He operates with precision, solitude, self-control, and that alone disrupts the entire system. He's a walking contradiction, highly capable but detached, socially aware but uninterested, observant but silent. And in a world obsessed with noise, validation, and constant performance, he's the stillness that forces everyone to see their own chaos. In this video, we're breaking down 12 powerful, uncomfortable reasons why people hate Sigma males. And more importantly, what that hate really reveals about them. Number 1, they reject constant validation. For most people, validation is oxygen. It comes in the form of praise, likes, applause, or approval, and it slowly becomes addictive. Every move they make is filtered through the question, will they like this? Their self-worth becomes a public project, outsourced to the opinions of others. But not the Sigma male. He figured it out early. The moment you start living for applause, you stop living for yourself. That's why Sigma males walk alone. They've chosen freedom over popularity. They're not interested in fitting in, playing roles, or appealing to the crowd. They speak when it matters, act with purpose, and define success in their own terms, not through recognition, but through impact. They understand that external validation is a slippery drug. It starts as motivation, but soon becomes manipulation. So instead of chasing praise, the Sigma male detaches from it entirely. He doesn't post his wins for likes. He doesn't change his voice to match the room. He doesn't shrink his dreams to fit inside someone else's frame. And that kind of radical independence makes people deeply uncomfortable, especially those who build their identity around being liked. To them, his refusal to seek approval looks arrogant. They see his silence as judgment. But what they're really witnessing is a man who is immune to manipulation. A man who cannot be bought, swayed, or led with compliments. The truth is, the Sigma male doesn't reject validation because he doesn't deserve it, he rejects it because he doesn't need it. And that's terrifying to people who do. Because in his self-sufficiency, they see their own dependency. In his calm detachment, they see their own anxiety. And in his freedom, they see the chains they've chosen to wear. Number 2, they speak the unfiltered truth. In a world where most conversations are drenched in half-truths and layered with politeness, the Sigma male speaks like a blade cutting through fog. His communication is direct, not because he lacks empathy, but because he values clarity over comfort. While others twist their words to spare feelings or avoid tension, the Sigma says what needs to be said, when it needs to be said, and in the most efficient way possible. He doesn't believe in sugarcoating reality. He believes in delivering the truth in its rawest form, because truth, even when uncomfortable, is the only foundation worth building on. To many, this feels harsh, abrasive, even offensive. But to the Sigma, it's just logic. If something is broken, it needs to be addressed, not disguised under flattery. What unsettles people the most isn't what he says, it's how naked it leaves them. His words don't just disagree, they dismantle. He calls out inconsistencies without blinking, exposes delusions without fear, and questions behaviors most people protect like sacred rituals. This forces people to confront the very parts of themselves they've spent years avoiding. And that's where the hate begins. People don't resent the Sigma because he's wrong, they resent him because he's right, and because he doesn't give them the usual escape hatch of polite dishonesty. His unfiltered truth doesn't just challenge their perspective, it shakes the very ground their identity is built on. Number 3, they cut small talk at the root. To the average person, small talk feels necessary, a kind of social lubricant that helps people glide past awkwardness and avoid vulnerability. It fills the silence with safe, predictable words, the weather, weekend plans, or recycled gossip. Most people don't question it because it's been normalized since childhood. But for the Sigma male, small talk is the antithesis of purpose. It's mental clutter, noise that drowns out meaningful connection. That's why Sigma males cut it off at the root. He doesn't entertain meaningless conversations out of politeness. If he can't explore ideas, learn something new, challenge a belief, or connect on a deeper level, he'll simply disengage, politely, but firmly. His attention is a currency, and he refuses to spend it on fluff. To him, every moment wasted in empty chatter is a moment lost forever. This disinterest in surface-level conversation often gets misread. People feel slighted. They assume he thinks he's better than them. But what they're really feeling isn't his judgment, it's their own discomfort with depth. Deep down, many people use small talk as a shield. They avoid meaningful topics because they're afraid of being seen too clearly. So when the Sigma refuses to play along, it forces a confrontation with something uncomfortable. Maybe, just maybe, all those shallow conversations weren't harmless. Maybe they were distractions from growth, mirrors of their own unwillingness to explore what really matters. And rather than admit that, it's easier to call the Sigma cold, intense, or antisocial. But the truth is simple, he's just on a different frequency, and not everyone is ready to tune in. Number 4, they ignore trends entirely. Every few weeks, society shifts its attention to something new. A trending style. A viral challenge. A buzzword. A sudden collective opinion that everyone's expected to echo without question. Most people follow these waves like clockwork, afraid to miss out, desperate to stay relevant. But not the Sigma male. He doesn't just ignore trends, he evaluates them. Before he lets anything enter his world, he runs it through a mental filter. Does this contribute to my growth, my mission, or my peace? If the answer is no, it's discarded, without guilt, without explanation. Sigma males are unmoved by popularity. They don't wear something just because it's fashionable, speak in slang just to fit in, or adopt beliefs just to be accepted. They operate from timeless values, resilience, purpose, knowledge, independence. While others buy into trends for short-term status, the Sigma is investing in long-term stability. While others mimic, he refines. While others seek validation, he seeks mastery. His life isn't built on what's trending now, it's built on what still holds value decades from now. This kind of indifference makes people uncomfortable. Because when the Sigma rejects the need to conform, it quietly highlights how much others depend on it. It reflects just how much energy they've spent chasing approval, how much of their identity is built on what's currently popular. And that reflection stings. The Sigma doesn't judge them for it, but he doesn't join them either. His ability to stand apart isn't just rebellion, it's clarity. He knows that trends come and go, but self-respect, inner discipline, and authentic purpose never go out of style. And that's why he doesn't just ignore trends, he transcends them. Number 5, they resist all forms of control. In the social ecosystem, control often operates through subtle, unspoken mechanisms: guilt, praise, peer pressure, status games, and emotional leverage. These invisible levers are used consciously or unconsciously to steer people's behavior, often in ways that serve someone else's agenda. But Sigma males are outliers in this system. They don't just resist these tools, they're immune to them. Guilt doesn't manipulate their decisions. Flattery doesn't inflate their ego. Peer pressure has no effect, because they've built their identity outside of the crowd. A Sigma male lives lean, not just materially, but emotionally and socially. He maintains few public needs, avoids unnecessary obligations, and forms attachments only when they are genuine and aligned with his values. He owes no emotional debts and has nothing to prove. This disconnection from traditional forms of validation makes him extremely difficult to manipulate. Compliments bounce off unless they resonate with truth. Status symbols are meaningless unless they serve a purpose. And shame tactics? They fall flat, because he doesn't rely on approval from the outside world to define his worth. This resistance threatens those who rely on control as their primary tool: manipulators, attention seekers, and authority figures who are used to bending others with emotional pressure. When a Sigma doesn't react to their usual tactics, they experience a sense of powerlessness. And powerless people, when exposed, often respond with resentment or even hatred. Because in that moment, they're not just confronting the Sigma, they're forced to confront their own dependence on external validation, their need to be needed, or feared, or admired. The Sigma exposes this weakness simply by refusing to play the game. Number 6, they walk away without warning. In most social environments, people follow a familiar script: arrive with a smile, engage in polite conversation, linger out of obligation, and leave only after saying the right goodbyes. It's a rhythm built on emotional expectations, the idea that staying longer means you care, that lingering equals respect, and that closure is a courtesy. But Sigma males don't live by these social scripts. To them, interaction is purposeful, not performative. Whether it's a conversation, a party, a meeting, or a relationship, the Sigma male enters with a clear intent: to learn something, connect meaningfully, or enjoy the moment. And once that purpose is fulfilled, he leaves. Instantly. Cleanly. Quietly. No lingering small talk. No unnecessary goodbyes. He doesn't ghost to be cruel, he exits to protect his time, energy, and peace. Because to him, time is premium real estate, and he doesn't rent it out for social rituals that lack substance. This behavior often leaves others confused or even offended. They replay the interaction, trying to find the flaw, wondering if they said something wrong or missed a cue. But in reality, nothing went wrong, the Sigma just saw no reason to stay longer than necessary. And this challenges people. It creates discomfort, because it violates the norm. Most people are so accustomed to social padding, the pleasantries, the pretending, that when someone skips all that, it feels personal. But it's not personal. It's principled. The Sigma male doesn't believe in stretching time just to meet emotional expectations. He believes in authentic presence, followed by a clean exit. And that gap, between what others expect and what he chooses, often breeds frustration, insecurity, and yes, even animosity. Because deep down, people sense that the Sigma isn't being rude, he's being honest. And that kind of honesty, especially in a world built on social performance, can be jarring. Number 7, they outgrow circles, fast. Most social bonds are built on repetition, the same jokes, the same routines, the same weekend plans. Friendships form around comfort, not growth. But the Sigma male has no loyalty to stagnation. He doesn't cling to people just because they've always been there. He evaluates relationships the way he evaluates habits. If it doesn't serve his evolution, it's time to move on. To the Sigma, growth isn't optional, it's oxygen. And because he's constantly refining his mindset, learning new skills, and shedding old patterns, he naturally begins to drift away from the people who remain the same. Not out of arrogance. Not out of coldness. But because staying still feels like dying. And that quiet departure creates tension. Old friends start to feel rejected. They accuse him of changing, of acting different, as if that's a crime. But the deeper truth is this: the Sigma's growth reminds them that change was always possible. They just didn't choose it. His progress becomes their mirror, and they don't like what they see. So rather than rise with him, they start tearing him down. The envy creeps in disguised as bitterness. He thinks he's better than us. He forgot where he came from. But it's not about forgetting, it's about refusing to stay stuck. Sigma males don't abandon people without reason. They simply refuse to be held back by comfort dressed as loyalty. And what stings the most? The Sigma doesn't argue. He doesn't explain. He just keeps moving forward. That kind of detachment, powered by purpose, exposes a brutal truth: not everyone is meant to go with you. Some people are only meant to be chapters, not the entire story. And the Sigma understands that with ruthless clarity. Number 8, they level up in silence. In a world obsessed with appearances and public declarations, most people shout their goals before they've taken a single step toward them. They post motivational quotes, tweet about their grind, and turn every minor effort into content, broadcasting intention as if it were achievement. But Sigma males move in a completely different way. For them, the journey isn't a performance. It's personal. When a Sigma male sets a goal, he doesn't announce it, he internalizes it. He closes the door, turns off the noise, and disappears into the process. No updates. No humble brags. Just silent, focused execution. While others are chasing likes for effort, the Sigma is stacking results in private. There are no witnesses to his grind. No applause mid-journey. Just long nights, deep strategy, and relentless self-discipline. And then, one day, seemingly out of nowhere, he resurfaces. Sharper. Wiser. Stronger. And most importantly, far ahead of the ones who were too busy trying to look like they were doing the work. People see the end result and assume it was luck, or that he had some secret advantage. But the truth is far simpler, and more uncomfortable. While they were seeking validation, the Sigma was building leverage. While they were posting for attention, he was preparing for domination. And that quiet evolution forces a bitter realization: they wasted their time. And that realization? It doesn't sit well. Because it's easier to call him lucky or secretive than to admit they lacked the discipline to do the same. The Sigma didn't just level up, he did it with such silence that his very success feels like a threat. And that quiet success? It cuts deeper than any boast ever could. Number 9, they refuse to compete for attention. In a world obsessed with visibility, where people measure worth by likes, views, and clout, Sigma males do something radical: they step back. They don't compete in popularity contests. They don't chase the spotlight. They don't beg to be seen. And that alone makes people furious. Because most individuals are wired to climb socially, always trying to be louder, more charismatic, more liked. The Sigma disrupts this entire framework simply by not playing. He doesn't talk over others to prove his intelligence. He doesn't peacock to prove his worth. He enters a room without announcing it and leaves without needing applause. This refusal to compete isn't laziness, it's power. Because when a man doesn't crave attention, he becomes immune to the manipulations that come with it. No flattery sways him. No criticism weakens him. He is internally validated, which makes him unshakable. People don't know what to do with that kind of energy. It confuses them. It challenges their unspoken belief that dominance must be loud, performative, or attention-seeking. The Sigma proves otherwise. His presence alone, quiet, grounded, self-assured, pulls gravity without ever asking for it. And here's the kicker, while others burn out performing for approval, the Sigma male conserves his energy and uses it to build something deeper. Something real. His refusal to compete in shallow games makes him a threat to every insecure ego in the room. Because the man who doesn't beg to be seen, ends up being unforgettable. Number 10, they're immune to manipulation. Most social dynamics rely on invisible levers, guilt, peer pressure, emotional hooks, and unspoken obligations. People manipulate each other all the time without even realizing it. A sigh to get sympathy. A backhanded compliment to plant doubt. A fake crisis to pull attention. But Sigma males? They see the strings. And they don't play puppet. They're not easily baited, because they aren't emotionally impulsive. They've studied human behavior, often in silence, for years. So when someone tries to play them, the Sigma doesn't react. He simply observes, analyzes, and files away every move. Try to guilt trip him? He'll disappear. Try to provoke him? He'll look through you like glass. Try to play the victim card to control him? He won't even pick it up. This emotional sovereignty makes people uncomfortable, especially those used to controlling others with subtle manipulation. When they realize the Sigma won't bite, won't bend, won't even blink, they start to panic. They accuse him of being cold, heartless, arrogant. But the truth is, he just isn't programmable. And that makes him dangerous in all the right ways. Because when you can't be manipulated, you can't be controlled. And when you can't be controlled, you become a mirror that exposes everyone else's games. The Sigma male's calm, emotionally armored mindset strips power away from manipulators and leaves them scrambling. Not because he fought them, but because he simply refused to play their game. Number 11, they break the rules no one dares to question. Every society, every group, every circle runs on invisible rules. Rules that dictate how to behave, how to think, what to want, and what to fear. Most people follow them blindly, afraid to challenge the system they were raised in, afraid of being judged, exiled, or misunderstood. But Sigma males? They don't just question the rules, they burn the ones that don't make sense. They don't follow outdated social scripts, they don't chase status symbols, and they don't conform just to fit in. If something doesn't align with their truth, they reject it, boldly, silently, and without apology. This is more than rebellion. It's alignment. The Sigma doesn't break rules for attention. He breaks them because they're broken. Because he's outgrown them. Because they're barriers to authenticity and freedom. He doesn't need permission to evolve. He rewrites the game and builds a new standard by living as proof that it's possible. This terrifies people, especially those who've built their identity inside those very rules. When the Sigma refuses to bow to groupthink, when he opts out of trends, cliques, and approval systems, it forces others to confront the fact that maybe they've settled. That maybe their normal is just a prison painted to look like home. And that's why they hate him. Because the Sigma doesn't just walk away from the system, he walks above it. And in doing so, he exposes how small and fragile it really is. His freedom becomes a threat. His independence becomes a revolution. And his very existence becomes proof that the chains were always optional. Number 12, they command respect without demanding it. Most people try to earn respect by asking for it. They demand titles, chase credentials, and seek recognition through external validation. Their confidence rises and falls based on how others perceive them. They want to be seen as powerful more than they want to be powerful. But Sigma males flip that entire dynamic on its head. They never ask for respect, they command it through presence, action, and consistency. There's no posturing, no begging, no false bravado. The Sigma earns respect in the silence between words, in the follow-through of his decisions, and in the unshakable way he walks alone. This quiet confidence intimidates people, especially those who rely on external reinforcement to feel important. The Sigma doesn't chase admiration, he attracts it by living with integrity, by honoring his own standards even when no one's watching. And because of that, others naturally look to him. They mirror his calm. They lean into his silence. They start second-guessing their own insecurities in his presence. This makes some people deeply uncomfortable. Because the Sigma's silent influence reveals a brutal truth: real power doesn't need to be performed. It doesn't need applause. It just is. And that contrast, that effortless command of respect without ever asking for it, becomes a subtle form of psychological dominance that few can match, and even fewer can handle. Final thoughts. Sigma males don't walk the same path because they were never meant to. They don't crave the spotlight, they become it. They don't bend to pressure, they become sharper under it. And they don't seek acceptance, because they've already accepted who they are. So when people hate, misunderstand, or envy the Sigma male, it's not because he's doing something wrong. It's because he's doing what they never had the courage to do. Stand alone. Think independently. And rise in silence. If this spoke to you, if you've ever felt like the outsider, the quiet storm, the one who doesn't play by the script, then you already know what it means to be Sigma. Sigmas, if this resonated with you, hit that like button, subscribe, and join a community that values depth over noise, strength over show, and freedom over fitting in. Let's keep evolving. Let's keep moving in silence. Let's keep proving that power doesn't need to shout. Stay sharp. Stay focused. Stay Sigma.